It's interesting when you look back after you got realization, because you see all the little events that led up to this point, as if Mother's just pulling you there. And when I was 14, I started reading poetry, and I felt, I want to be one with God, I want to be one with God. And it sort of came and went, and I had some difficult times, and I went to college at 19, 18, and I thought, what am I doing here? I want to be with God, this is such a waste. And I remember I got out the Bible, I thought maybe I find God here, I opened the Bible, I went, no, I won't find God here. And I was really feeling desperate. And then, like Pam, I felt this voice come into me and say, don't worry, when the time is right, I will come for you. And so I just went, okay, and I relaxed. And then I went through university, and I kind of overworked myself, etc. And I left college, and I thought, now is my time. I'm going to find the joy that I felt I'd lost. I'm going to find myself. And I earned money, and I went off traveling. I was going to go to Australia. I left London, never coming back here again. Don't like the city at all. And I went off, and I ended up traveling around India for five months. And I was really looking for a yogi in a cave, something. And I kept meeting all these people who'd met the false gurus, like Rajneesh, all these different people. And each one had a really bad experience to tell me. And I thought, oh, I'm not going there, And then finally one day I was in this jungle, in this wildlife sanctuary. And someone had given me on my travels a copy of the Upanishads, this beautiful book translated by a realized soul. And I started reading it, and it's the poetry of their experiences of union with God. And I thought, this is what I want. I want to feel this. I want to feel this joy. The next day, I met someone in the hotel I was staying at who had just come from a public program with Shri Mataji. And I asked them, I kept asking people periodically. Actually, I had this strange feeling I must ask them if they'd been anywhere, seen anyone. And I was a bit shy, and I thought, no, you've got to ask them. And so they gave me this leaflet, Sahaja Yoga Unique Discovery. I didn't understand a word of it. It was very intellectual about parasympathetic systems. But it said that Mother could cure physical problems. And at that time, I didn't realize it, but I had anorexia and insomnia, which I felt was really getting in the way of my leading a balanced life. And I found out where Shri Mataji was going to be. And so, to leave out some details, anyway, I went to Delhi and arrived just at the beginning of her week-long lectures she was giving. And I went to the place, and actually Gregor met me and invited me in for tea. And Shri Mataji was there, and I met her, but my chakras at this time were so blocked, I really couldn't recognize her in any way. And I stayed for the program, and they gave me realization, and I didn't really feel anything. I felt like something shot up my arm, and that was it. And then they said, oh, you've got it, go bow down. So I went to Shri Mataji, and she said, very good, left Nabi. And then she asked me if I was vegetarian, actually, which I wasn't. And then I went home, and I got in this rickshaw, and I went back to the hotel, and I sat down to have supper, and for the first time in like 4 years, I ate my meal, and there was no thoughts in my head of, don't eat this, you'll get fat, this is what anorexia does, it's like talks to you the whole time. And I went, oh wow, that feels really nice, and then I went to sleep, and I felt like I'd slept 14 hours, and I woke up and it had only been 8, and I went, my goodness, I thought, oh, there's something special here. And it's interesting because how Mother pulls you in with, you have your desire, but she pulls you in and she gives you what you're looking for at that time. It's like she goes, okay, this is your hook, this is your lure. And so I went back again to the next program, but I couldn't go every night. It was like physically I couldn't handle the vibration. And I wanted to go, but I couldn't. And I would just literally just spend the day waiting for the next day, and then I'd go to the program. And they were very kind, everyone. I couldn't feel a thing. And they tried to sort of work on me. In fact, Shri Mataji at this point gave me neck cricks, and she said, Vishuddhi, Vishuddhi. Didn't feel anything. But I really liked the yogis. For the first time, I'd been traveling for 7 months at this point with lots of other young people. I wasn't a hippie, but I was kind of on the hippie trail. And it was the first time I felt these are people like me. I can't explain it any other way, but I just felt this connection. And also I was impressed, Bob Dan was there, who was a doctor, And he said, yeah, this is something really special. I got realization. I threw out all my books. And I thought, oh, this is someone like me. And he thinks there's something special here. And then, so I kept going for like 4 or 5 days. And it was like very nebulous. I felt there's something special here, but I didn't know what it was. And I can see this is very much a period where people come in, they get realization, and it's so easy to get pulled off. You know, I could feel things trying to tell me, oh, go here, go there, but something was stronger, was pulling me, you know, towards Shri Mataji. And they said, we're having a seminar in Bordi. Douglas, I'm sure it was Douglas, said, come to the seminar. And apparently everyone said, oh, Mother, she's so caught up, you know. And Shri Mataji said, don't worry, she'll be all right. So sweet. Mother knew in your heart who you were, what you were. So I went, and we were at Bordi. There was only like 30 yogis. It was just Saj Yoga in England and in India. This was March 1979. And Shri Mataji was sitting in the middle, at the front. And all the yogis were standing in a bandhan facing her. It's an old treatment she had. And we would sit and you'd put your sastraras like this, and Chris would have his hand in my sastrara. And the person at the left-hand side would have their hand towards Shri Mataji, taking vibrations. So it would go all the way around the circle, the half circle, and the person at the end would have their hand up. So she asked, is everybody feeling vibrations in both hands, both sides? So suddenly, for the first time, I realized, yes, I'm feeling cool down my right, but nothing in the left. Absolutely nothing. So she called me, she said, come out and sit in front of me. So I knelt down. She said, put your hand on your heart and ask the question, Shri Mataji, is this the power of the Holy Spirit? Is this the power of the Param Chaitanya? And I remember suddenly there was like this cold breeze coming towards me, and it was like whoosh, my kundalini must have just gone boing, and I felt like this huge weight fall off my shoulders. You know, they say the weight of your shoulder felt, that's what it felt like boom, you know? And suddenly it was like I was awake and up in the world and sort of alive, and I felt like it was kind of amazing. I was in this new experience, and over the next couple of hours I felt like I got my soul back again. I suddenly felt like writing poetry. The whole of my left side opened up, you know, but still I never felt anything in my hands. And at that point I realized this is it. I felt like I'm swimming in this water, and Shri Mataji's up there and she's put this straw down, and if I just hold on to this straw, I'll be all right. And she said, come back to London, which I'd vowed never to go near again, because there was only Saj Yoga in India and in London at the time. And I felt, if I can learn to live in London through Saj Yoga, then I can learn to live anywhere. And I was very impressed with the Indian Saj Yogis, because they had so much joy and love, and I felt, this is what I want, you know. And I sort of wanted to share that it doesn't matter if you don't feel vibrations in your hands, because I didn't for like 6 months. I never felt anything, but I did feel things inside. And Shri Mataji would say, you know, that I had a lot of problems when I came. I was very blocked in my chakras, and she would say, look at Felicity, look how she's come up. You know, so I always say, if I could do it, anyone can do it. And you should never feel, you know, there's a problem with me. It's just surface. And you just give patience and time, and it comes out. And one time she said to me, whatever your problems, Felicity, you are always sincere and honest. And I felt that's the key. If you just can be honest with yourself and you be sincere, Mother works everything out. Amazing.